Hi everyone, it's Darius Bucher from Integral Forest Management. I'm also the Canadian rep for RTI, the makers of Teabag Fertilizer. And what I'm wanting to do with this video is something that I've wanted to do for a long time, but finally to make a video demonstrating the placement of the tea bag. And a lot of people have been asking me for this, so finally I've had a few moments to be able to put it together. But before I go over the placement of the Teabag fertilizer with the seedling in the soil, I'd first like to go over the technology, because I think understanding the technology is going to help you when it comes to determining the best placement of the fertilizer. So I'll explain how that works. Before I go forward, everything that I am reviewing today can be found in a couple of brochures that you can get a hold of from me, and I can give my contact information at the end of the video. We also going to have our planting instructions, can be found on RTI's website, which is www.reforest.com. So you can find everything there, but if you're ever looking for information or you ever have any questions on this stuff, please feel free to contact me, and I'm happy to go over stuff with you, because I want to see you successful with this. So, as far as the Teabag fertilizer is concerned, and I just happen to have a sample pack of Silva paks here with me today. I'll open this pouch here. And just what I want to show you, I mean, usually these are 2,000 count, the big bags. This is just a sample pack. But within each of those 2,000 count bags, you're going to find 20 of these. And each one of these bags is subdivided into units of 100. So it makes it really easy for planters to count, or checkers to count, to make sure they have the right amount of tea bags when they're bagging up. But even before I go over the tea bag, I want to just explain how seedlings grow in the forest. What's really important to realize, it's really funny, when I first started this representing RTI, I would have people coming up to me and they say, you know, that's great, you can buy it in the tea bag, and your tea bags cost quite a bit of money. What is stopping me from just going to the garden center, buying a big bulk bag of fertilizer, and just taking a film canister and putting it at the base of each tree? Well, that's really interesting. At the time, it was harder for me to give an answer because I was new to the business. But over time, the reason and that you don't want to be doing things that way is, first of all, the blending of your fertilizer at the garden center could be completely wrong for your tree. And secondly, it's not going to release at a rate that your seedling can take it up. So it's going to end up somewhere where you don't want it to be. How seedlings grow in the forest is in a very steady state throughout the summer. They are not grass. They are not agronomics. They aren't corn. They don't need a huge flush of nutrients right at the very beginning of their life. They like to grow in a slow, steady state throughout the growing season. So how it works is you place a seedling in the soil, or even one that grows naturally. And as your soils warm in the spring, not only do the roots start to grow because the soil temperatures are correct, but it also matches of the needs of the microbiology that you find within the humus and within the organic matter that is found on the surface of your soils. So as that soil biology gets going, it's slowly releasing nutrients to the tree. Now, as the soil warms throughout the summer, this process, because the biology is happier, the roots are growing faster, goes faster, and it increases. So the growth rate of your tree is matching the release of the nutrients from the soil biology, but this is done in a very steady state. If nutrients hit a tree too quickly, because there is nothing to prevent their release from too fast, they just are not designed to handle it. It overwhelms them. So what ends up happening is, it ends up being taken up by soil biology within the humus, and it ends up getting locked up. Or it ends up getting leached away by water, or even worse, it can end up getting volatilized into the atmosphere. So you don't want that to happen. So the huge importance of the Teabag fertilizer, what we sell, the real value of the product, is the coatings and the release mechanism, in addition to the blending, which matches your tree. So just to go over that, I'll take one of these tea bags out of my pouch here. And each one of these tea bags, of course, contains 10 grams of the balanced nutrition that a seedling needs to start off with. Now, the blendings will vary based on different parts of the province that you're in and the soil conditions that you're under. But each one of those blends will be within one of these tea bags. People ask me about the tea bag itself. Does it do anything as far as making the fertilizer work? It does not. It's merely a packaging to make sure there's a consistent 10 grams of fertilizer going into the soil beside each tree. So that gets rid of all the measuring and potential waste that would happen on site if you had to measure it out yourself with something like a film canister. So the tea bag's just going to break down. It's going to disappear into the soil. It doesn't do anything as far as fertilizing the seedling or making the fertilizer work better. Now within each tea bag, and I'll get you to come a little closer here. As I pour it out onto my hand here, you're going to see these little balls. The official name with them would be fertilizer prills. Now, each one of these prills that you see, of course, contains a nutrient. Different colors have different nutrients in them. But what you see with the coloring, of course, is the coating, which surrounds the nutrients and controls the release of those nutrients to the seedling so that it happens in a steady state throughout the growing season. One of the things that I really appreciate about this product and the technology that goes into it is the fact that these, prills are essentially bomb-proof. You can put them in the soil. They do not crack. They do not have fissures. This material is very high-tech polymer that was actually designed in conjunction with NASA. That will not end up having a catastrophic release of any kind. So there's always tight control on the release of those nutrients. So how do these coatings that go on the outside of the fertilizer prills work? Well, essentially what happens is when the fertilizer is placed into the soil, moisture in the soil activates the coating. As the soil temperatures warm, and the minimum temperatures, of course, are at temperatures when your roots are also going to start growing or your tree's starting to growing, because you certainly don't want fertilizer releasing when your trees aren't going to grow. But as the soil warms, the coatings start to swell and pores or channels start to open up that allows moisture into the prill. Now the moisture goes into the prill, puts the nutrients into solution, and through reverse osmosis goes out of those channels into the soil and releases the nutrients. Of course, they are taken up by the roots of the tree. So it's very tightly controlled. What's really nice about these coatings, which is really important, is that you have an awesome, or the best opportunity to get these nutrients into your seedling. You are not going to, like as I said before, you're not going to have a catastrophic release. It doesn't matter how much water is in the soil. It doesn't matter what kind of soil biology you got. It doesn't matter what kind of pH you got. These fertilizer prills, or the coating on them, will not catastrophically release nutrients too quickly for your seedling. They will not end up getting leached away. Your seedling has the best opportunity of getting these things, and they are not going to move very far away from your seedling at all. Something to note about them is that before these seedlings ever leave or end up in our product, when they are produced, they are tested in a lab in a fully submerged water bath at 100 degrees Fahrenheit. So we're talking 38 degrees Celsius. And they are testing them over a 1-week period to ensure that they are releasing the way that they should be. Now, just think about that. How often do you plant into fully submerged water conditions at 38 degrees Celsius? So the safety mechanism, the safety factor within these coatings is absolutely massive. So this is what allows us to be able to place them in the same hole as the seedling. So we have a product that is releasing nutrients to the seedling at a steady state at a rate that a seedling can handle throughout the growing season. How long will they last? Will the nutrients in a tea bag last? Let me ask. It really, once again, because it's soil temperature related, is going to depend on your ecosystem and the conditions within that ecosystem. So if you've got a really high elevation site and you have cold soils, you're going to have, probably by the end of the summer, 60-70% of it is going to be gone, and you might have 30% of the nutrients still remaining in your tea bag, ready for you to start in the spring of the next growing season. Something to remember, though, is that soil temperatures are different than air temperatures, and your roots are going to be growing into the fall. So these things are going to be slowly releasing nutrients for the tree to pick up, even in the fall, to prepare it for the next spring. If you're in a warmer ecosystem where soil temperatures are warmer, probably the vast majority of that tea bag is the contents will have been released by the end of that growing season. This little bit, I just want to talk quickly, specifically to the tree planting community. Now, one of the reasons that RTI has gone with these coatings, with these highly specialized coatings, is also for safety. We want you to have complete confidence that whatever it is you're handling is not going to cause any health issues with regards to you. So first and foremost, I mean, we always, although you saw it within the video, I was holding things in my hand, and you probably can safely do that. We always recommend that you wear gloves. That just goes part and parcel with tree planting anyways, so that shouldn't be a big issue. But that really adds just an absolute 100% layer of protection that you're not going to come into contact with the nutrients inside the prills. But also, in thoughts towards the tree planting community, we did our own test, or RTI did their own test in a fully submerged water bath at room temperature, comparing our product over a 2-hour period, which we estimate was, say, the length of a bag up, that you would have the tea bags within your, maybe handling them when you're planting your trees. And we compared them to other technology that's out there on the marketplace. And this is really interesting, and this is why you can have a high degree of confidence that what you're handling is completely safe. We found that after that 2-hour period at room temperature, fully submerged in water, that the PHP tea bag nutrients, 98.3% of them were still there after a 2-hour period. Only 1.7% of them had left. So the chances of you coming into contact with anything are extremely low. Inferior technology, and I was describing you with some other stuff where they can be fissures or cracks or stuff isn't even coated. We found that only 58% of the nutrients were still there. So you really want to be confident in what it is that you're handling, and it does make a difference. That's why we've chosen the nutrient coatings that we have. Your safety is paramount to us. All right, now I'm going to go over placement finally. So I have with me right here a 412, and just a shout out to Brett Bernard at the Mount Ida Nursery in Salmon Arm. Grow some really nice stock there, and I'm really thankful that he was able to share with some trees with me today. I really love this tree. Put in the right spot, and it has the moisture and the nutrients that it needs over the summer. I can hardly wait to see what it's going to look like this fall. But when I place this in the ground, so I'll do a demo before I actually put the seedling into the ground, is where do I want my tea bag? Now, in the old days, with the old technology, you'd have to have it over here somewhere, because the inferior technology would release nutrients potentially a bit too quickly, and you'd end up with salts around the base of the tree, and it could kill the tree. But this is the beauty of the technology that we have with these PHP coatings. When you're placing this in the hole, you don't want it very deep, maybe an inch, and you don't want it too far away from your seedling. This allows you to place the tea bag essentially right beside the seedling in the same hole. Now, it's okay if this tea bag ends up touching the seedling a little bit at the side. And something to notice, that fir are a little more sensitive than other species with regards to salts being built up around the roots. But even fir, if it touches a little bit along the side when the hole is closed, no big deal. If you're closing the hole and the tea bag gets bunched up like this, or you end up in a situation where it's like this, or you put it at the bottom of the hole and it ends up like this, you could end up with some serious problems because you have too much contact with the seedling, and you can overdo it with anything. And this allows maybe potentially some too many salts to build up around the roots, and you can end up damaging the tree, and worse yet, you could even end up killing it. So these are things that you don't want to do. So once again, pretend this is the same hole. The seedling goes in, the tea bag goes beside it. You can touch a little bit at the edge, but you do not want it mashed up against your tree whatsoever. That would definitely be a fault, and it's definitely a danger zone for potentially killing your tree. Now, one thing that you can adjust is where you place the tea bag up and down. If I was in a cold site like the ASSF, those high elevation sites, or the ICH where there's a lot of moisture, I don't want that thing more than an inch below the surface. I want those soil temperatures to warm up this tea bag when the roots are going and to be releasing nutrients right away. However, if I'm in a situation where I'm like in the IDF and it's really hot and it's really dry, I think I'd be wanting to put this tea bag a little bit lower. Your soils are warmer, but they also dry out a lot sooner in the season. And remember, one of the things to success with the fertilizer is moisture, because that's what activates it, that's what carries the nutrients to the tree. And if you don't have any moisture, nothing's happening. So if your soils dry out really early in the spring, you certainly don't want it out here. You want it as low as possible. So in the IDF, really hot soils, I'd suggest putting it down a little bit further. Okay, now this is the real fun part of the video where I get to pretend that I'm a tree planter. I don't even want to pretend I'm a tree planter, to be honest with you. I've seen a lot of trees go in the ground, but I have a tremendous amount of respect for the hard work that tree planters do, and it's an art. And I know that every one of you has your own way of doing things. And you know what? I think that's great. What I want you to focus on is the placement of the tea bag, because that is what is key. How you get it there matters not to me. What's most efficient to you matters not. The one thing that I do like it, that's a benefit to you, is the fact that it goes in the same hole, which means you don't have to make a second opening, which will save on your wrist probably a lot, over a few thousand trees over the summer. So anything we can do to make it easier for you, that's what we want to do. But this is how I would place the seedling and the tea bag into the hole. So got my microsite here. Get the shovel out of the way. Most of you guys. Plant the seedling on one side, and then I'd place the tea bag right beside it like this. Now you'll notice I like to leave a little bit of a gap, just a little bit. And that gap just ensures that not too much of the tea bag ends up touching the plug when the hole is closed. Notice the tea bag is perpendicular. It's following the slit of the hole. It should not be, once again, sideways against your seedling like that when it goes into the hole. That is not okay. That's going to kill the tree potentially. We want it perpendicular, a little bit of a gap like that. And you can just see it's very easy. And this is what I really like about it. When checking these tea bags, for those of you who are checking the planters, it should be super easy to find. There should be no issues whatsoever with you finding it. It should be very easy to handle. It should be close to the surface, and then it's just a matter of closing things up. And there you go. And it's that simple. You don't need to slam the hole shut. Everything's good. That tree's ready to go. So, very simple to apply. Something that I realized that I forgot to do when I was going over the placement of the PHP fertilizer in the original video was to go over our 20-gram packs. And the reason that I want to go over these guys is because they are placed differently than the 10-gram PHP packs. So the one that I'm holding here happens to be a 20-gram pack with worm castings in it. These are used a lot for mining reclamation, fire reclamation where the fire burned extremely hot and there's virtually no organic matter left on site. So they are used quite commonly, and where they have been used, there's been great reviews, great success. So where do you want to put these guys? Now, you're going to, because the worm castings cannot be coated, you're wanting to place them in a separate hole. We can't control the release on something that we can't coat. And they are hot enough that if they got too close to the seedling that they could damage it. And in worst case scenario, if it was really close, it could even potentially kill it. So these guys go in a separate hole, uphill of the seedling, so mass flow will take the nutrients down towards the tree. You want them to be no more than 1.5 inches, 2 inches away from the seedling. Too far away, then your soils could dry out too soon, potentially, and your seedling, it takes too long for the nutrients simply to get to the seedling to benefit it. So you want it to be in that sweet spot, 1.5 inches, 2 inches away. As far as depth is concerned, it's exactly the same as a PHP tea bag. You're wanting to go, 1 to 2 inches deep. If you're in a colder ecosystem and your soils are cold, you want to make sure that the soil temperatures are warm enough to release the nutrients. And if you're in a really warm ecosystem, and a lot of times this is the kind of ecosystem they're used in, would be for fire reclamation, you're wanting them to be 2 or 3 inches deep so that the soils don't dry out too soon, and the nutrients, making sure that the nutrients are released to the tree as long into the growing season as possible. So just quickly, I don't have my seedling with me anymore, but if my finger is the seedling, you would want this tea bag about this far away from it and to be perfectly safe. You certainly don't want it like this, like the PHP tea bag, and you certainly don't want it mashed against the seedling. That could be catastrophic and create mortality. So once again, uphill, about like this, and once again, your depth will be dependent on the type of ecosystem that you're in. So this is how you would deal with a 20-gram planter pack. So thanks again, everyone, for taking the time to watch this video. It's really, really, really important to me that you are successful with the product. I know the potential that this can have. There is no greater moment, more important moment that dictates the trajectory of growth of a seedling than at the time of planting. And giving it the balanced nutrition it needs at a rate that it can take it up is absolutely crucial to getting the full potential out of the genetics that you have purchased from the nursery and to overcoming the site challenges that you have. So anything I can do to help you be successful with the product that we have, I want to be able to do that. So if you have any questions at any time about any of this stuff, concerns about safety, handling, environment, any of that, please feel free to contact me at integralfm@telus.net, and I'd happy to be able to help you out. Anyways, all the best with your planting. We'll talk to you later.